So this week is the 50th episode of the nanonanofilm improv comedy podcast, and you are very, very lucky to this time have my visage. If you're watching on video, for those on Spotify, you've still just got to listen to the dulcet tones that I've been told make people fall asleep. But today is a bit of a landmark for me. It's 50th of many episodes of this nanofilm improv comedy podcast. And as I say, I wanted to do it a little bit differently this time. And mainly this is a podcast this week to just reflect on some of the things that I've been doing over the course of the last year and a half. I started doing this in January 2024, and I originally just had some ideas that I was probably putting down on Twitter, but having to get past, 100 odd characters, and then have to do another tweet after that as well. So I thought it might be easier just doing a podcast, really. So I am surprised that I have given you this verbose diatribe of podcasts charting my journey in the world of improv comedy. But today really has given me the opportunity just to kind of, I guess in a way, reflect on all of those things that I'm still not doing as well as I possibly had hoped to do. But thinking about the podcast itself, it has been great for me to just, it's forced me, if I will say, to reflect on the things that I have perhaps struggled with. It's allowed me to be open rather than sort of shutting away things that I'm not good at. It's forced me to confront the things that I'm not particularly good at. It's forced me to think more deeply about topics that possibly I might have done at a course or a workshop, but then maybe forgotten about it on the way home or thereafter. So doing each podcast each couple of weeks or so has allowed me to focus on a topic that's been sort of festering around in my mind. It's allowed me to think more about it. I've managed to talk to great friends and improvisers about these topics and get kind of input from them as well. So as you've seen from some of the episodes, some of those are outright interviews. I was about to say explicit interviews. Hopefully they weren't explicit. Certainly not the ones I remember. Maybe I had a blackout. But they've also allowed me to kind of just, as I say, focus on the areas of development that I want to get better at. And without it, I don't think I would have been in a position that I would have been reflecting on these sort of fun, theoretical, and indeed most of the time practical topics that all of us, to a certain degree, have to go through when we're doing improv. So some of the things that kind of come to mind when I looked back on the episodes that I've done so far are things, the ones that kind of stuck out for me, I think, were the group connection one we did a few weeks ago, and also just reflecting on, like, you know, the festival. I talked recently about the We Are Dave experience at the Lambeth Fringe Festival, but also I've talked previously about festivals and retreats that I've been on as well, and had I not had the podcast, I don't think I would have had time or inclination to have reflected on kind of my experiences and what I really enjoyed about it. I think too often in the past I've found myself sort of being quite negative. So I'll come back from a workshop or a course and I'll be driving home and thinking, oh, I wasn't very good at that, or I need to get better, or just being in the doldrums about things. But actually having the podcast has allowed me to be reflective in a very structured way, but also balanced as well. So things that actually I did think went quite well, I can reflect on those things as well. So it's given me a lot of structure, and it's given me some great things that I would never really have thought about in depth, some great topics to think about. As I say, it's also helped facilitate conversations. So the podcast itself has allowed me to have conversations with people who are friends of mine, who are also improvisers, but also outside of that sphere as well. As you'll see from some of the episodes, they talk about doing improv with kids or doing improv in the workplace. Those have allowed me to start to extrapolate outside the world of improv the kind of techniques that I use. And those are some of the forthcoming episodes, little teaser there, of some of the upcoming episodes that I've got ideas about as well, branching out into the wider world beyond improv. So it's forced me to do that. I've also realised, of course, that I'm just not alone in some of these things. I've just mentioned just a few moments ago, I alluded to the fact that we all kind of go through these things. But having tangible conversations off the back of these podcasts with several people has allowed me to feel, I guess, better about myself, not worry too much that I'm going through this alone. Actually, people have said to me, I really enjoyed that episode, and actually I've thought a lot about this myself. Or indeed, in some instances, people have sort of said, actually, I never really thought about it like that. I thought about this a different way. And then, of course, that's made me think, I wish I'd done the podcast after speaking to you, because your idea was far better than mine. But it's facilitated conversations. The podcast has been useful for just generating conversations about improv, the trials and tribulations that actually are very common between all of us. So it's been great, and as I say, it's also been an eye-opener. When I look back now at the number of episodes that I've done here, it's been an eye-opener on the number of things that I'm still just not doing. I said in one of my earlier episodes, particularly around characterization, that I'd get better at it. But you know what? It's fallen by the wayside because I've suddenly fallen in love with trying to make the other improvisers corpse, laugh. I've enjoyed exploring the nature of relationships in the group as well, which is why I did the podcast on group connection. So some things that I was quite fixated about earlier on in the journey, I've sort of parked, I would say, and probably come back to. But clearly there are things that I just am still not doing very well at. I'm still, in a way, kind of refusing offers when I see them. I'm still, some ways, not embracing failure. I found that recently when I did the We Are Dave festival. I was at the side on the back line waiting to step onto the stage to support the other improvisers, but I remember thinking, I've got nothing here. And of course that goes completely against the basic tenet of improv. It goes against the embracing failure foundation stone. So even those basic things I'm still not doing, but overall I genuinely feel that I am exploring improv, finding my type of style and the humour that I enjoy, and experimenting that with other improvisers both far and wide. So, things like episodes like, I guess, tech as an integral improviser within the show, or as I said before, the group connection. These sorts of conversations I've had with different people have really forced me to start thinking about things. But of course, as I said, I'm still not doing them. And one of the things, as I say, I would like to really do is that episode I did on the tech person as an integral improviser. I think that would be great to do that, and that's something I really do want to do, along with many other things as well, but just haven't found the right dynamic or number of people or the right showcase to do that in. But that's something that I hope to go back and reflect upon when I meet the 100th episode of the nanonanofilm improv comedy podcast. So that is pretty much it. It's just a reflection why I did this, what I've kind of got on this journey so far, and hopefully you've enjoyed that too. And that's one thing I would probably send out at the end of this podcast today is, what have you enjoyed about it? I have had one or two people come up to me and say they enjoy listening to the episodes and they've given me their feedback on certain things. I can't tell you enough how much I really appreciate that, because that tells me that you're listening to it, you're thinking about it, and it obviously moves you as well because you're inspired by improv or the arts. So if you've got any time after the end of this podcast, I'd really appreciate if you could go onto the platform podcast of your choice and give it a good rating, give it a comment, and maybe even share it with other people who also want to enjoy listening to improv podcasts, or possibly just people who have got insomnia. So thank you very much for listening to the nanonanofilm improv comedy podcast. I'm very much looking forward to doing another 50 over the next year and a half. I was about to say the near future, but that would be insane. Thanks for listening.